Hey guys, welcome back to EKTV. I'm really delighted to have with us John deVadoss today, the head of Neo Global Development in Seattle. Welcome to the show and welcome to Malta.
Thank you very much, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be here and always fun to talk to you, my friend.
Awesome. Okay, John, so I believe you have a keynote speech tomorrow at 12:30, which we're all looking forward to. Do you want to give us a quick rundown of what you're talking about?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, tomorrow at noon is the talk. The key theme is mass adoption. You know, how do we cross this chasm and get to mass mainstream adoption of blockchain capabilities? And I'll talk more about tooling, about developers, about distribution, and how do we get the millions of developers out there to be able to build smart contracts and to exploit blockchain capabilities.
So everyone talks about this mythical mass adoption, right? What does mass adoption look like? I mean, is there a specific number where we go, right, we've made mass adoption now, or is it just some random myth that, you know, how do we get there, and like, how do we know that we've got there?
So that is a great set of questions, probably like 3 or 4 different questions there, right? So firstly, Erhan, I think you coined this term, the mythical DApp, right? The elusive unicorn DApp. And I think you're right, I agree with you. There is no mythical DApp that will magically change the landscape of the industry. It never happens that way. It has never happened that way in the past, and we are no different. So the way we get there is quite simple. It's developers, developers, developers. You get millions of developers building apps, don't even call them DApps, building apps on blockchain platforms, and 1,000 flowers will bloom. And of those 1,000, you will find, you know, these very interesting, you know, these truly game-changing applications show up in this particular process, right? Yeah. So how do we get there? It's a long journey, obviously, you know, but you begin at the developer. You make it really easy, really simple, and really productive for developers to be able to build apps on blockchain platforms, obviously, and including Neo as well. And the more we can get folks to start trying, you know, piloting, building, and deploying, the faster we'll get there. So one more thing, you said, how do we know when we get there, right? So I'll tell you a story. So back in 2007, I was working on building Windows Azure, the cloud platform. So at that time, people would say, can I use the cloud? Is it secure? Do I have privacy? And by 2011, they were saying, look, if you don't use the cloud, what's wrong with you? Something's wrong with your strategy. The same thing will happen to us, right? People will say, look, if you're not building on blockchain capability, what's wrong with you, right? What's holding you back? And it's when we will know we have hit the mainstream, when people sort of take it for granted that we've crossed this bridge, if you will.
So obviously, you know, your background's very interesting. You know, when you joined Neo, it was very exciting for everyone in the Neo community, and still is, of course. Obviously, you know, you've had that kind of insight into Microsoft. I think you worked there for nearly 20 years.
A very long time, yes.
A very long time. So, like, how, you know, you've worked at a big platform before, and now you're working at Neo. Like, how is the culture different back in the day when you were working with the early times at Windows as opposed to the early stages here? What similarities do you see, and what differences do you see, mainly?
That's an awesome question. I mean, there's a few things for me that stand out. First is the global community. You know, having developers, core devs, the community, you know, across how many continents, across what, 10 countries, 25 cities, something like that. The truly global nature of the community is unique. Back in the corporate world, a bunch of guys in Redmond or Seattle basically building the platform, right? The second thing is the enthusiasm in terms of the community is significantly different. Back then, you had this black box development, building kind of in secret, if you will, and a big bang release. In this world, you know, we release every week, every other week, right? It's about enthusiasm, it's about community, it's about engagement. And I find that very fulfilling, truly fulfilling, in the sense of we get feedback right away. We can see what is happening. It is a very, very big deal. And the last thing is the opportunity to have impact at scale, Erhan, across millions and tens of millions of people out there. We can make a difference to their lives. And that to me is so apparent, so obvious as a shared motivation across the community that was never there in the corporate world, if you will.
Okay, and like, you know, I'm not a developer, you know, I'm not that technical. So do you see that, like, you know, the blockchain developers that you see working on blockchain as opposed to the, you know, the .NET developers or the ones that are still working on, I even say like they're not old platforms, but to us, we're so much into blockchain, we just see that as boring, compared to this space. Yeah, it's so old, right? Do you see like as skilled developers working in blockchain as you see in the real world or on those traditional platforms, or are you seeing like more junior developers starting on blockchain and then progressing their way up? Is the quality of developers, because obviously the numbers isn't there, but is the quality there?
So again, a very good question. By the way, first of all, Erhan knows more about developers and development than he likes to accept. So let's be very clear about that, right? Because I've learned so much from Erhan in this particular process, right? So back to your question, the quality of the core developers, Erhan, is significantly better. Significantly better. For a few reasons. Firstly, these are devs who understand not just technology, but economics. Being able to balance these two domains is a unique set of skills that I have not seen in the old world, if you will. Mostly geeks, hackers, if you will. But the level, the talent, the intelligence, and the understanding of how the world works in terms of economic principles is vastly superior to anything you see in the corporate world.
Interesting, very interesting, very interesting. So, I mean, with Neo, obviously, there was some news 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, about you being the first blockchain member of the .NET Foundation, so congratulations. I'm sure you were pivotal in that. But what does that actually mean? Like, of course, you joined the .NET Foundation. What does the .NET Foundation do? And what opportunities does that give to the Neo blockchain specifically?
So again, a very good question. In very practical terms, it gives us access and visibility to about 8 million developers every month on the average who use .NET in some form or fashion. It gives us access, it gives us exclusive ways to help them to use their languages that they already know to build apps on Neo. The second thing is it gives us a very exclusive way to understand what is happening in the .NET ecosystem. What are the new features, the new tooling, so we can exploit. And by the way, the root of this all is that Neo was the first and probably still the only major global blockchain platform to have taken a bet on the .NET stack, which gives us a unique set of advantages in terms of reaching the mainstream developers. Right? So I would say in terms of numbers, in terms of strategy, and certainly in terms of partnering, we have a huge leg up, which I believe will be a strong set of assets for us to be successful.
So as far as I'm aware, you presented at the recent .NET gathering, should we say, conference. How did they react to having the first blockchain member in their midst of audience, and how did they respond to potentially using Neo as a platform?
So two things. Firstly, the response. You get two camps. There's one camp which says, "Well, about time, man. I mean, we've been watching you guys. I mean, we've been watching you for 5 years, building on GitHub and certainly following in terms of developments." But there is also a camp which says, "What is a blockchain platform?" Right? And this goes back to your earlier question. How do we get to mainstream adoption? And we have a huge opportunity because I can go to these and say, look, use C# or Visual Basic or Python, Go, whatever you like. And without learning new stuff, new languages, new tools, new frameworks, we can convert these people to be blockchain developers. And that is something we can uniquely do. That really no other public chain, not even Ethereum, is able to have the same level of support to make it so native, so easy, so simple, and so productive that I have so much passion for this. And watch the space. The next 3, 6, 9 months, we're going to do much more in this area as well.
I think as two of the leading smart contract platforms, obviously Ethereum and Neo, and I think we were discussing over dinner the other night. I think with Ethereum, you have to learn obviously a new programming language. You have to do Solidity. It's very kind of exclusive. It's kind of closed off. Whereas obviously on the Neo side of things, you guys are opening your doors to everyone and anyone by being one of the most developer-friendly, if not the most developer-friendly platforms available to build on. So I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on that point that you made and how you see those differences actually in the real world.
Certainly. I mean, this is something, again, I have a lot of passion for. My sense is that currently, for the most part, we have these high priests of technology who are holding, if you will, the walls closed in terms of access, in terms of learning and understanding and building. Now, on one side, there is huge value benefit for these people in terms of the salaries and the exclusivity. However, if we want to make a dent in the world out there, if we want to drive mass adoption, the only way we do this is not by having high priests. We're saying every developer out there is a blockchain developer. And that's our vision at NEO. Hong Fei says, NEO as the most developer-friendly blockchain platform. And that's exactly what we're making happen, right? Every developer out there will be, eventually. In fact, I would say, Erhan, the term DApp is kind of not helping us, right? It's just an app. It happens to be using, decentralized capabilities, but it's an app. And this is the journey we are on. Every developer, everybody who's out there using some language, some tooling, some frameworks, we make them DApp developers, blockchain developers, and one step at a time. So watch this space. I mean, this is very big, right? We will break those. In fact, I would say we want to commoditize app development, right? Some people don't like the word commoditize, but that is the only way to get to mass global adoption, right? Make it easy. Break the walls down.
Cool. So I think right now, if you go to dapp.com, the biggest or most used apps are gambling, gaming, obviously, which is a good first kind of frontier for people to start using dApps, so long as the figures are what they say they are. Talking about mass adoption, then, where do you think that kind of dApp, or as you said, let's forget about dApp. Like, where do you think those apps are going to be? Like, obviously, we're in gaming, gambling now. Let's say 2 or 3 years down the line, we're starting to see more adoption. Which kind of areas do you think we're going to see those app platforms moving over to?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say, look, any wave of new technology, whether it be the cloud or the web, e-commerce, right? Initially, you find a wide variety of sectors. You're going to see gaming, some levels of gambling possibly. You're going to see, a whole cross-section. And this is life, right? It's not unique or any way special to the blockchain world. Back to the early DVDs and the VCRs, right? Any wave of technology, there's going to be adopters from everywhere. We don't want to block or stop, as long as they play under the policies, right? So with that said, of course, where will we see the most impact? I certainly believe that the impact in terms of finance, right, not just at the policy level, but certainly at the consumer level, right, DeFi exactly, right? That is where I think we will see the biggest, because this will impact people's wallets. It is very real. At that stage, it's no more an idea or a vision. It's very real. And when we get there, the fulfillment that we will see as a community, as an industry, and the level of support and evangelism we will see from the common man and the common woman is going to be extraordinary, right? For me, that is the sort of the tipping point, if you will, right, in terms of finance. But we'll get there in steps. There is no magic silver bullet. It won't happen overnight. But that is the one sector for me personally, and NEO as well, because our smart economy vision, we believe in being able to tokenize assets, right? And it has enormous value in terms of real estate, in terms of automobiles. I mean, you pick your asset, right? And so I certainly believe that's where we'll see the most bang for the buck, if you will.
Awesome. So interesting. So yeah, just to go back a little bit of you joining NEO again. Obviously, I think it was a surprise to everyone to see NEO open an office in America. It really was. A pleasant surprise.
Was it really?
Well, everyone always has a Chinese project. We all know it's not, because it has global development team, etc. But what was the catalyst for you to join the NEO team? I imagine you had many conversations with Hong Fei. I'd have been fascinated to learn what you guys actually spoke about to bring you in.
So I guess for me personally, it's very simple. 2 things. It is the architecture of NEO, the design of NEO, and secondly, meeting Hong Fei Da and coming to know him well, chatting with him about his vision, about his pragmatic idealism, and his long-term goals. It was very clear to me that there was no platform like NEO. It was a no-brainer for me. Meeting Hong Fei, being able to have dinner, drink with him, and really get to the core of what his belief systems were. It was very easy. And secondly, the architecture, Herhan. What we have with the NEO architecture is quite special. It's quite special. The work, but with Eric, obviously, as the architect, as the co-founder, is quite special. And being built on .NET was the icing on the cake. I mean, I couldn't say no. It was a no-brainer.
Cool. So I think the whole Neo community and blockchain community are really excited for Neo 3. So yeah, can you tell us the vision behind Neo 3? How you expect to drive adoption using Neo 3? I mean, I think this is a really important point for Neo to nail this. So so how is Neo ensuring that this is going to go as smoothly as possible and move over all the dApps into the Neo 3 blockchain?
Very true and a very good question. So to step back just maybe a little bit, Neo 3 is about driving mass adoption. It's about truly making sure we can get this out there everywhere. So to do so, obviously, we have investments in terms of the core architecture to optimize the architecture, in terms of latency, in terms of scalability, but also more in terms of the key capabilities. Neo ID, Neo FS, obviously, the Oracle infrastructure, the tooling, right? All these things, all these build up in terms of enabling the Neo 3 architecture. Now, how do we get there? It's very simple, Erhan, or at least I think it is simple anyway, right? Developers, what do they want? They want tools to be able to build apps on the platform, and they want distribution. So the investment in the core platform, on the tooling, and then EcoBoost is basically the triangle. Building a superior platform, having a very productive set of tools to build apps, and having something like EcoBoost to incent to help drive distribution. So we have all the puzzle pieces, if you will. Now it's about execution over the next 6-9 months, and I certainly believe it's going to be a lot of magic happening for us in the next year.
For sure. And for those of us that don't know what EcoBoost is, I believe it's a $100 million fund that Honfei announced at Consensus New York.
That's exactly right.
Drive adoption in the Neo ecosystem. Those could be wallets, exchanges, all kinds of partners, to be honest, media.
And ISVs, vendors, I mean, the whole spectrum. Yeah. And this is probably about 10, at least 20x more than the next largest fund by any other public chain platform.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's impressive stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future holds for Neo.
I mean, I can't wait.
Okay, cool. So yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Any message that you'd like our viewers to go away with when thinking about Neo, the Neo platform?
Definitely. I mean, the thing I want to say is give us feedback. Tell us about what we are doing on GitHub, or in our email, Twitter. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. I mean, we are driven, obviously, by our community, right? At the core developer level as well as the apps level. So tell us, give us feedback. Very happy to hear from you. Send me an email as well. I mean, you can find my email, johndevadoss@neo.org. So tell us again, we want to make sure that we listen to you, and we are building the platform and the tools for you out there. So please, tell me.
All right, John, thanks again for joining us. It's a pleasure as always.
Always likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's EAK TV. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you next time.